1991 Honda Accord LX with 2.2 engine, intermittently crank not start, or it stalls during driving. So and it restarts, like they keep trying and cranking, so it starts. So first we're gonna check for coils. So they have the connector here for that one. This is the blue connector here. It will be showing here where I will be connecting the 4-channel here. I will be doing. So we can see here back probing the connectors. I am connecting on the 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 ignition control, ICM control. So the computer is controlling that one. The ignition control module is producing the voltage, and the computer is pulling that voltage down to ground when it has the inputs. So CKP is an input, positive CKP, TDC, and CMP. CKP, the crank position sensor. TDC is for cylinder number 1 in TDC on compression, and the CKP, crank position sensor. So the computer needs those 3 inputs to control this ignition control module. Okay, so I'm connected here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Gonna see which one are we losing when the vehicle doesn't start. I'll get back the camera when it fails. Okay, so here's the I jumped the connector here. So now we're gonna check for coils, because the check engine light is on. So at this point we gotta count how many times this is flashing and get those together, you know, the coils. Oops. Coil 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Coil 7 and 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Coil 7 and 8, 3, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 2, 3, 4, 5, 15. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 16. 1, 2, 3, 4. Coil 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 4 and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Gonna get these together. Long 1, get together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 15. This is gonna be the 16. 1, get to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 16. So we have coil 4, 7, 8, 9, 15, and 16. So we're gonna check those coils now on the bearers and see what is related about this. Okay. Gonna go here. They got the information there. 1991 on the cord. Manual codes only. Continue. How to get code, clear codes. I'm gonna go to troubleshooter. Engine. Code tips. So we have 4, 7, 8, and 9, and 15. See, all together here. Any combination. 4. We have the 7. What's the 7 is here? Let's see the 7 separately. Throttle position sensor circuit problem. Yeah, that could be because the idle is going up and down, and I think it's because the throttle position may be bad. This code, we can see TP sense of failure most common, the failures. Okay, and then any combination on the 4 on this 15. Code tips, all the with hard start. If any combination of codes hard or soft for 8, 9, or 15, text report faulty distributor assembly. It's the most common fix. Possible echo or connection, but are rare. Okay, so what happened is when initially I came to this vehicle, it had it just died on me, so I checked no spark. When I checked for no spark, I had the opportunity to open the distributor, and I checked inside the distributor, and the coil was working. Oh yeah, I checked inside the distributor, and I saw like there was no control from the computer, to the ignition control module, to the igniter, no control. So I did a bypass, and I control it myself. I did the job the computer does, and I had spark. So at this point, I know it has to be any of the rest of the sensor. Like we can see, I have 4 channels here. The one is ICM control from the computer, controlling that one. Second is the CKP positive. Third is TDC, and the fourth is the cam sensor. So I'm suspecting on this is gonna be either, I know the coil is okay, I know the ignition control module is okay, and my suspicion is here it's gonna be a computer no grounding the ignition control module, because the ignition control module produces the voltage, and the computer grounded. The computer basically pulls that down, that voltage, to control it. And then because it is not controlling, I'm suspecting of any crank or TDC sensor fault. And at this point the vehicle is starting, so I'll go and show here. What I will do is here, because the vehicle is running right now, I'll prove it here. It's starting right now, so we'll start the engine. It's working okay right now. To simulate the crank no start and get a good waveform reference, now that it's working, I will basically, what I will do is at this point, so I have the 4 channel here. At this point, what I will do is disconnect the injectors. So that way, I know my cam and crank, TDC, and ignition control to the ICM, everything should be there under good condition now. So we'll go here and disconnect, unplug it here. So this is for the injectors. So I disconnected the injectors. Now we will crank it and get a good waveform reference. By the time this vehicle fails, we already know what to expect for a non-good. So, because I have 4 channels here, I'll put in on 10 bolts, each of them, so that way we can see that better. How the waveform looks. Okay, so at this point right now we can see that only one has 10 volts, is the green trace. Okay, that means the ignition control module, because I have the key on, I'll go off right now. You can see 0, go on. So this means to me, because I already checked it, the ignition control module produces this voltage 10.7, and the computer grounded or pulled that down to control the ignition control module. So there was no control there. That voltage was staying there when the vehicle had cranked no start, but I couldn't prove what was failing because it's the engine runs in between the tests. Now it's crank no start, but I'm simulating it because I disconnected the connector for the fuel injectors. Okay. Okay, we'll check these. Okay. Zoom out. Okay. So I'll put some cursors in it. So we can see here, I'll start with green trace, which is the ignition control module. So we can see here the number 1 cursor has 9.3 volts while cranking, and the number 2, which is this, has 0.007. So 7 basically, like good ground. The computer is grounding it good now. So the yellow trace is the put this away, move the others so we concentrate on that one only. The yellow trace is the Zika pin. It's a little bit of inconsistent on that one, but see how many volts is that one. AC volt total from peak to peak is that one producing. Okay, it's about 3 volts AC from peak to peak. Now I will be checking the blue trace. I'll be checking the red, which is the cam sensor. So this one is producing about 3.9. You can see here 3.9 total. Cursor 1 and 2 minus 2.11 and 1.7 on the positive side. And also I can see on the yellow trace, yeah, both are matching there too. You see 3.4 on that one too. Okay, now we're gonna check the blue trace. This one's a little bit hard because it's a lot of noise on it, but this one's about 2.1. But remember, the vehicle right now is 2.13, but the vehicle is working okay right now. It's just I created this condition. Okay, now we're gonna keep trying and find out when this engine dies what's pretty much failing. We'll keep trying and I'll get back with the camera when I find it. Yeah, we're gonna try right now and see if this one start right now or not. Young, man, he did. Well, another try here. Man, every time it's starting now. I was cranking it at this moment. Long cranking there, analyzing. So we can analyze here, like what happens. So we can see here where the crank sensor, when it was long crank, it was losing on the yellow trace. it was losing the signal for a good period of time here. Look at the yellow trace. I couldn't duplicate it only one time, and I wasn't live. Right now I'm looking here and explaining here what happened, on the green trace is when the computer is grounding the ignition control module. So basically the ignition control module is producing the voltage on the upper part, and the computer is grounding it every time, you know, it meets the criteria like cam, crank, TDC, all those sensors, and you ground it and sparks occurs. But at this point, one of the input, which was the crank sensor, we can see on the yellow trace it was lost, while the red is a TDC, it was maintained, and then the blue trace, which is the cam, um, is also maintained there. So we're gonna zoom in a little bit on this. Yeah, we can see when I started like cranking it here, I had some spikes by the frame 512, and then after that, the crank sensor, it wasn't producing any more, signal. But still, the computer was still grounding it. The signal for the computer, that's the one I was worried. The computer was capable of controlling that ignition control module while the fault was occurring. Yeah, we can see the CP sensor here didn't produce all the signal all this time. So at this point, it is the distributor like 80-90% of the time. In these cases, is the computer, I mean, it's the distributor. However, I have replaced about 5 computers on these vehicles because they get age where it has all the inputs and the computer is not grounding the ignition control module. Yeah, we can see when the vehicle started here. Okay, so it's a call for a new distributor.